Hey everyone, let's take some time to learn about adding integers. Our goals for this are to add integers with a number line and to try a couple different strategies. Here's a refresher from our last lesson, which was about the zero-sum rule. And what we learned there is that when you take opposite integers, for example, -5 and +5, which are equal distance from 0, when you add them together, your sum will always be 0. Okay, so now we're going to try actually using a number line for this. And some of you might like number lines, some of you might not, but that's okay. But we're going to show you this, see if you can make that your mind up for yourself. So when you're looking at a question on a number line, you want to remember that when you have a positive integer and you're adding it, you're going to be going higher up on the right hand side. So I'm going to start at my 0 since I'm adding 15. So I'm starting with my 0 and I'm just going to draw a line here to show that I've added 15. Okay. Now I'm going to be dealing with this -20. Since I'm adding a negative, I'm going to have to be going to the left. So I'm going to go from the 15 where I just was, and I'm adding that negative number. And when I add, that's 5, 10, 15, -20, I end up with -5, which is my answer. Let's try another one. So once again, we'll start with our negative this time. So we have our -15. So I'm starting at the 0, I'm going all the way down to -15, and then I'm going to take a look at my positive, which is +5. I'm going to move up 5, which means my answer is -10. Now this one's a little bit different because it's a negative plus another negative. Do you have any guesses what might happen? If we start at the 0, we go down to -5. So we've dealt with that. Now we have to add 3 more negatives. So we are going to boom. And there we end up at -8. So if you're adding negatives, you're just going to keep going left. Okay, now this one is pretty fun because it starts to look a lot more complicated. And the reason we're looking at this is to show you how you can use that same strategy we just used and also group the negatives and the positives to kind of help make a little bit more sense. So let's start with the positives right now. So we have a +8 and a +5. So I'm going to start at the 0. I'm going to do that +8 first. So we go all the way to here. And I'm adding 5 more now. Now I know that that's going to be up to 13, so I'm going to do that 5 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to right here. All right, now it's time to look at the negative numbers. And the first one we have is -13 followed by -2. So I'm going to take my -13 and head all the way down there. So I've just moved 13 spaces towards the left to the negative, which interestingly actually cancels that out. That's just a bonus there, not expected. And then we have this -2 left, so we're going to do that little extra, and this distance right here is going to be our answer. So -2 ends up being the answer for that one. So number lines can be a really great tool. Not everybody likes them, so it is just a tool. Just ask yourself for a second, take some time to reflect, do they work for you? I'm going to show you a couple other strategies which you might prefer, or you can try practicing and see what you think. So number 1 was that first one we talked about, the 0 principle, is just to be able to look at that and say right away, I know that the opposite of this number would be -19, so I can cancel those 2 out, which would give me my total. So by that will kind of just make your numbers a lot smaller. There's also some rules. So rules are kind of things people have figured out, determined will always work. Some people like memorizing rules. Some people like applying it to number lines. It's totally your decision. So here's one rule. If you notice that you have a question like this one where the signs are the same. So we have a -7 plus a -5. So what the rule says is that if the signs are the same, you can just add the numbers and keep the sign. So if that's the case, that means we know the sign's going to be negative because they're both negative. And then according to the rule, if we add those together, then we will get our answer. So negative 12 is going to be our answer. And if we think about that on a number line, we would be moving from to negative 7 first, and then to negative 5, which would bring us to negative 12. Here's another rule. What if the signs are different? So here we have a negative 9 plus a positive 4. So the rule for that is that if the signs are different, you're going to subtract them, but you're going to keep the larger sign. So looking at this one, I see that 9 is a larger number, so my answer then is going to end up being negative, and it says I'm going to subtract them. So if I had 9 and I was taking 4 away from that, I'm going to end up with 5. So negative 9 plus positive 4 equals negative 5. And I'm going to use my zero principle to just check this right now. I knew if I had a negative 4 and I was to put that with this, then that would give me negative 5. Great. You're done. That's the end. Check in with Miss Murphy and see what your follow-up assignment's going to be. Thanks for watching.